I still live in Southern California. Sometimes traffic forces me to drive past that building. I try not to look at it. I keep my eyes on the road, my hands steady on the wheel. But sometimes, I can't help it. In my peripheral vision, I catch the third-floor windows. And when the light hits them just right, I swear there's someone standing there. A pale figure, perfectly still, watching, waiting for me to come back. It all started in 2016, when I accepted a position as a production manager at a semiconductor company in Southern California. At the time, it felt like a big opportunity, an important step forward in my career. The problem was, the industry was new to me, and that uncertainty pushed me to overwork myself. I volunteered for everything, extra shifts, weekends, long nights. I wanted to prove I deserved the job. I told myself it was commitment. Now, I wonder if it was something else drawing me back to that place, pulling me in like gravity, like hunger. The building itself should have been my first warning. From the outside, it appeared modern enough, all clean lines and corporate efficiency. But step inside, and you'd feel it immediately. A wrongness that settled deep in your bones, a weight that pressed against your chest with every breath. The facility had been constructed in stages over decades, each expansion grafting onto the last like scar tissue over an old wound. Modules and units jutted out at impossible angles, forming a maze of corridors that seemed to shift and rearrange themselves when you weren't paying attention. It was a Frankenstein of a building, its architectural DNA corrupted by too many additions, too many modifications, too many secrets buried in its foundation. I should have left after the first weekend, but deadlines don't care about instinct, and fear is so easily dismissed in daylight. Darkness, though. Darkness remembers everything. The Oldtimers knew. They always know. The ones who'd been there 30 years or more. The grizzled technicians with permanent shadows carved beneath their eyes, with fingers yellowed by decades of cigarettes. They spoke in hushed tones during smoke breaks. Their words drifted away on exhaled nicotine and dread, disappearing into the California night like prayers that would never be answered. The building, they said, hadn't always manufactured semiconductors. Before the clean rooms and production lines, before the corporate buyout and renovation, it had been something else entirely. A hospital, built in the 1940s, abandoned for decades before our company purchased the land. They'd gutted the old wards and operating theaters, transforming patient rooms into sterile clean rooms where silicon wafers replaced the sick and dying. They'd erected new walls, installed gleaming equipment, and painted over the past with corporate white. But the corridors, those narrow, twisting arteries that connected one department to another, those remained. Original. Untouched. The same paths where nurses once rushed with medicine, where doctors delivered devastating news to families who would never recover, where bodies were wheeled in silence toward the morgue. The same floors where people had taken their last breaths. The same air they'd breathed as the light left their eyes. I tried to dismiss it as workplace legend, the kind of ghost story employees tell to break the monotony of 12-hour shifts. But late at night, when my footsteps echoed down those unchanged hallways, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was walking through a throat, that the building was swallowing me whole. December brought the ramp up. Production demands skyrocketed as we scrambled to meet end-of-year goals. Weekend work became mandatory. The building, which bustled with hundreds of employees during the week, stood nearly empty on Saturdays and Sundays. Just a skeleton crew. Just me. A handful of technicians scattered across different departments, and whatever else lingered in those corridors. That's when things began to happen. Small things, at first. Easily explained away by exhaustion, by stress, by the mind playing tricks after too many consecutive 16-hour days. But small things have a way of growing teeth in the dark. Small things have a way of becoming hungry. One late Saturday evening, I passed through an empty office and froze mid-step. The printer was running, churning out page after page in the heavy silence. I approached it slowly, my heart hammering against my ribs like something trying to escape. No print job had been sent, no document queued, just blank pages, emerging one after another in a steady, mechanical rhythm, like the building was trying to tell me something it had forgotten how to say, like it was practicing. I unplugged the machine. The pages stopped. When I turned to leave, I heard it start again behind me, a soft mechanical whir in the darkness. I didn't look back. On another occasion, I stood alone in the hallway between production and quality control and watched a clock on the wall begin to adjust itself. The minute hand jerked backward, then forward, then backward again, counting down to something, or away from something, or through something that existed outside of linear time. As I stared, unable to look away, a chill crept up my spine like fingers made of ice water spreading across my shoulders and neck. The air temperature hadn't changed. The HVAC readout on the wall confirmed it. But the cold was there anyway, invasive, as if something unseen had pressed itself against my back to peer over my shoulder, to see what I was seeing, to stand where I was standing, to be where I was being. I left that hallway without looking behind me. Some instincts run deeper than curiosity. But the worst of it, the thing that made me finally understand I was in danger, was the girl in the white dress. She would never fully materialize, never give me the mercy of confirmation or the relief of dismissal. Instead, she existed in peripheral spaces, in the gaps between intention and recognition. A pale shape flickering at the corner of my vision. A silhouette behind a laboratory window where no one should be standing, where no one could be standing because that room had been sealed for equipment maintenance. A figure that dissolved like smoke the moment I turned to look directly at her, leaving only the faint impression of fabric, of movement, of presence. The Oldtimers talked about her in voices barely above a whisper. They'd seen her too, they finally admitted after I'd worked there 3 months, though their eyes shifted away when they spoke of it. To the floor, to the walls, to anywhere but my face. They couldn't explain her, didn't want to. Some knowledge, their silence suggested, was a burden better left unshared. But they knew. She was waiting for something. Or someone. And with each weekend I returned. Each hour I spent alone in those corridors, walking the same paths the dying had walked, I began to feel it with growing certainty. She was waiting for me. Not attacking. Not manifesting. Not doing anything overt enough to make me seem crazy if I reported it. Just waiting. Patient. Persistent. Like she had all the time in the world because time meant something different to her now. Like she knew eventually I would join her. The feeling became too immediate to ignore, too present to rationalize away. It wasn't paranoia anymore. Paranoia suggests irrationality, and what I felt was cold, clear logic. Something in that building wanted me to stay, and the longer I stayed, the harder it would be to leave. I gave my notice in January. The exit interview was brief. They asked standard questions. I gave standard answers. The HR representative never asked why I was leaving without another job lined up, and I was grateful for that mercy. On my last day, as I walked out of the building for the final time, I glanced back at the third-floor windows. She was there. Fully visible this time. No longer relegated to peripheral vision or fleeting glimpses. A girl in a white dress, her face pressed against the glass, watching me leave. Her expression wasn't angry or sad. It was patient. Like she knew I'd eventually come back. Like she knew they all come back, eventually. I still live in Southern California. I drive past that building sometimes when traffic routes me that way. I never look at it directly. Always keep my eyes forward, fixed on the road ahead. But in my peripheral vision, I can see those third-floor windows. And sometimes, if the light hits them just right, I can see a pale figure standing there. Still waiting. Still patient. The Oldtimers were right about one thing. The building remembers. It remembers what it was before the renovation, before the corporate logos and clean rooms. It remembers the sick, the dying, the desperate prayers that went unanswered. It remembers every last breath taken in its corridors. And now, I realize with a certainty that keeps me awake some nights, it remembers me too. I just hope it forgets before it decides to call me back.